Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 27th January 2024. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TSV Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to talk about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been trying to do in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and past videos or future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the video concerning the previous one that I made yesterday, we were trying to discuss the case history of one Mr. Ferdinand Bokia, who hailed from the fringe of the New York underworld from the second decade of the 20th century. This is as per our discussion of various living entities and their case histories to understand, study, and analyze the terms called mind, how and why it works the way it does, plus karma or destiny of every human living entity. In that process, today we shall continue our discussion about Mr. Ferdinand Bokia. Mr. Ferdinand Bokia belonged to the unenviable category of those people who find themselves sooner or later as sailors of two different boats at the same time in the material world, where initially they hail from the 75% category of humanity but are attracted and try to gravitate towards the 20% category of dark negative forces. This and makes them end up as a part and parcel of the twilight zone or fringe of the underworld, because here they are forsaken by the society of 75% and forgotten by the 20% category of society of those who belong to the dark negative forces of this material world, and hence from a segment of the same dark negative forces called the underworld. We do not know the early history of Mr. Ferdinand Boccia. We also do not know his actual age when a particular incident happened in either the late 20s or in the early 30s of the 20th century in a place called New Jersey near New York, America, in the New Jersey and the New York underworld. At that time, the presence of the underworld of New York and New Jersey was graced by an awesome and regular, completely qualified underworld figure called Mr. Vito Genovese. Mr. Vito Genovese was fast gathering an awesome reputation as a genuine underworld figure. Mr. Ferdinand Boccia was attracted to the underworld, but alas, he lacked the necessary quality and qualifications to qualify as a genuine figure in the underworld. Nevertheless, he chose to and remained a sidekick or a lackey of the same Vito Genovese. We do not know what was actually the business of this Ferdinand Boccia, whether it was legitimate or illegitimate. However, he was unscrupulous enough to entice one very wealthy businessman who was quite gullible and vulnerable and attract him towards the same Vito Genovese. This Ferdinand Boccia knew that he lacked the talent, expertise, and capabilities to fleece this wealthy but vulnerable businessman. Hence, he approached the same genuine and awesome underworld figure called Vito Genovese. Here we will take a detour. Now we will see what was the actual difference in the psyche of that vulnerable businessman, Mr. Ferdinand Bocchia and Mr. Vito Genovese. Evidently, this vulnerable, wealthy businessman belonged to the 75% category of multitude in the New York, New Jersey society. He was some person who was probably indulged in some legitimate business, but who also loved to uh, act big by squandering away his money, legitimately got money on illegal pursuits. Ferdinand Bocchia provided the link between this gullible businessman and the genuine underworld figure called Vito Genovese. Ferdinand Bocchia was in the twilight zone. He was attracted to the underworld and to people who genuinely belonged to the underworld. In fact, he was enamored by them. This shows how his mind worked. He was one person who was attracted to the dark negative forces but could not do much to become its part. However, this Vito Genovese proceeded to show to Mr. Ferdinand Bocchia and the world how the mind of a genuine underworld figure operates. Anyway, one day Ferdinand Bocchia approached the same unscrupulous and awesome Vito Genovese. He told him that he had got a victim in that gullible businessman with deep pockets who could be cheated of his thousands or lakhs by Mr. Vito Genovese and Ferdinand Bocchia if they tried. Vito Genovese smiled wolfishly. He could not believe his luck. Now he was looking at one guy who was a nincompoop himself, but who was trying to bring another equally innocent and ignorant living entity in that businessman towards this Vito Genovese as a prey. Vito Genovese wolfishly agreed to fleece that wealthy businessman of his thousands of lakhs. It was the early 20s of the 20th century, and hence the inflation rate was such that even $1 of that period had a very high value. you may safely assume that $100 of that period was equal to at least $1,000 of today. Nevertheless, Mr. Vito Genovese suggested to Ferdinand Bocchia to go ahead with his nefarious plans. In fact, in the disguise of of a suggestion, he was giving an instruction or order to Mr. Ferdinand Bocchia to obey him. Mr. Ferdinand Bocchia and Vito Genovese cheated this businessman blind with a card game. After this, not satisfied with their own unscrupulous and greedy act, they proceeded to sell this businessman a machine which they claimed to be making real $100 bills. This businessman was so gullible that he purchased that machinery from Ferdinand Bocchia and Vito Genovese for $50,000 in those early 20s of the 20th century in New York. $50,000 then is equal to 5 crores in today's date. Nevertheless, he had been royally cheated by Ferdinand Bocchia and Vito Genovese of his hard-earned millions. Now we come to the real story. As I mentioned before, this Ferdinand Bocchia had talent of $1, capability of $1, and ambition and quantities of $10,000. In other words, his actual confidence was no match to his actual talent. This guy was so stupid that he chose to believe such an unscrupulous, cold-blooded, sanguine gangster as Vito Genovese. Even before he had brought this customer to Vito Genovese, he took a promise from Vito Genovese to hand over 10% commission of the proceeds to Ferdinand Bocchia. Vito Genovese must have laughed in private, but nevertheless he agreed then. This shows how the mind of a real gangster works. There is more to learn in this particular case history. When the job was done, Vito Genovese became rich or richer by at least $75,000. This Ferdinand Bocchia, who had engineered the whole plan and who was the brain behind this whole plan, began pestering Vito Genovese like a genuine businessman for his own 10% commission. However, alas, Vito Genovese was no legitimate businessman. He was a genuine underworld figure who thought like a criminal. This guy, Vito Genovese, became so greedy that he did not want to part with even one penny of his ill gotten gains. He began shirking away or avoiding Ferdinand Bocchia. But here, Ferdinand Bocchia showed his true mettle. He showed to this Vito Genovese that he may not be as criminally talented or capable as Vito Genovese. Nevertheless, he could at least manage to be an unending pain in the neck for Vito Genovese. This guy began pestering Vito Genovese for that 10% commission. Vito Genovese got visibly irritated and angry. He decided to do something about it. He caught hold of two of his own lackeys. One was called Gallo and the other was called Rudolph the Hawk Rupolo, or his name was Rupolo, but his nickname was the Hawk. He gave $150 to each of these guys and told them to not only hit Ferdinand Bocchia but also to make the dead body of Ferdinand Bocchia disappear. Both Gallo and Eddie the Hawk Ripolo were very proud that such an important assignment was given to them by their own boss, Vito Genovese. This shows how the mind of some not so talented but qualified underworld figure works. These guys do not have the brains of a genuine underworld figure, but they have the necessary muscle to act as a hitman or a murderer. After giving these two guys an assignment of this sort, Vito Genovese, the unscrupulous and awesome gangster that he was, went a step further. He gave another $50 to the another hitman called Eddie the Hawk Rupolo and told him that as soon as the Ferdinand Bukia job was over, he should bump off or kill this Gallo who was his accomplice in that murder. Eddie the Hawk Rupolo agreed. Now, these two guys went, killed Ferdinand Bocchia, and made his body disappear. However, this Eddie the Hawk Rupolo bungled his next assignment to bump off or kill Gallo. Gallo lived to tell the police the tale of his being shot by Eddie the Hawk Rupolo. However, Gallo did not tell the police about the Ferdinand Bocchia affair. Now the police arrested this Eddie the Hawk Rupolo promptly. Eddie was in a catch-22 situation. He did not know what to do about this whole affair. He had been fingered at by his own accomplice Gallo, and now he faced 20 years in prison. Nevertheless, this guy decided to keep his mouth shut and did not disclose the identity of the main player in the whole game called Vito Genovese. Vito Genovese, however, was a genuine criminal and his mind thought like a genuine criminal. This guy thought that it would be very unwise for him to remain in America when his own accomplice or lackey called Eddie the Hawk Rupolo was facing a 20-year prison sentence. Vito never trusted even himself, and hence he did not trust Eddie the Hawk Rupolo. His greed had at last come and taken the best of him. He was now regretting killing that Ferdinand Bocchia and to go one step ahead and try to kill Gallo. Vito Genovese was scared that sooner or later either Gallo or Rupolo will spill the beans to the police about Vito Genovese. However, instead of cooperating with the law like a true underworld figure, this very Vito Genovese scampered and away from America and relocated to Italy, from which from where he originally hailed. This is all I wanted to talk about in this particular video. We shall continue with our story in my next video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this case history. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, ideas, and opinions so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.